Hello and welcome with another episode here with your host Tmzoids. Today we're going to be talking about Riot again. As a company, I've talked about Riot in the past, and I feel like there's a few other things that I didn't address in my other video. I've mentioned before, Riot's more of a reactive company, but we're not really touching that topic. If you want to go check back on my other video, where I talk about how Riot's more of a reactive company and how the community works in waves. That was one of my first videos. Got a pretty well response. I recommend you go check that out. Today's topic, we're actually going to be talking about Riot's client, the login ordeal, and pretty much PBE. I feel like PBE is an important part, and we'll get more into that once we get to that topic. It's going to be a longer topic, but a few little things I wanted to talk about right off the bat is the client itself. Now, the client is very nice. It's all fine and dandy. People have complained about the client for years and well, not years and years, but for months and months and months. And people are like, "We need a new client. This client sucks." And finally, Riot delivered. It gave us a nice overlay, I think, of what we used to have. It's much more crisp, clear, and I think Riot's been working on that all together, as you can see with the new map. But going off that, the client itself, I've never had a problem with it. I didn't have a problem with the old client. I didn't really have a problem with the new client and whatnot. But before I start talking about the client or any other issues with Riot, as I am a gamer of Riot, I play their game. I just have, as a consumer, I expect some expectations. I know not every company is going to be perfect, and I'm not saying to revolt Riot or stop playing Riot because of these issues. I'm just holding Riot at a standard, which as a consumer, I would like to see Riot fix and or make even a better or add better things to their game to make it a better experience for myself. So this is not to bash Riot. This is not to make Riot have a bad name. Yes, they are negative things and good things all together. But no, I'm not saying stop playing Riot. I'm not saying I'm going to stop playing Riot. It's not going to happen. I'm going to probably log in after this video and play some League of Legends. But going off that though, the first things first, you log in, all that jazz, and you want to go to the store, and this has to be seem to be bigger and bigger problem as time goes on. And I don't know what's going on. I just get the same error as usual. Maybe it's just me. I'm just too lazy because once again, the store really doesn't help you with your gameplay. You don't have to go to the store at all. I just wanted to go there for the icons. But it seems lately, the more and more that I go to the store or try to go to the store, it doesn't work. And it gives me the same error. It's like, oh, you're encountering an error. The best way to fix this error is to try restarting your client. If the error keeps going, you want to pretty much contact Riot support. So, I restart my client. I click the button 5,000 times, clicking everywhere, and nothing's working. It just doesn't load. You either get a blank screen, or I get the error message, or if I do get the shop to load, I click another tab and it doesn't work. So it's very frustrating. Something that I think they need to look at. I'm not too sure. It just seems to be more and more of a consistent problem. Like I said, it's nothing that affects your gameplay or anything of that sort, so it's not really a big deal. But if people are trying to get icons, all that jazz. I'm sure there's tons and tons of people in the store, so it gets over swamped. I'm also not sure how the store's connected to the game, because I don't know if they're like intertwined with the game or like the store's like added onto the client. I'm not really a big programmer, so I can't tell you how that all works and how all that goes down. But it seems to be more and more of a problem. I'll probably eventually contact Riot support, but as something just a little fix that you could do for the client, easier time for the store loading. Like I said, I really haven't had a problem with the store in the past. It just seems like the last couple patches, when a champion comes out, it takes me like at least 2 or 3 days to actually get a champion if I have the IP for it, because I can't access the store, and I restart my client, I run it as an administrator, I do all that jazz, the basic stuff before I try and contact Riot support, because it's something that's so minuscule, and I'm not here really, like I said, I'm not like frustrated. It doesn't affect my gameplay in any way, and maybe it does for some new players, though. That's the main reason I say this, is because if other players are having this problem and they're new to the game, excuse me, sorry, They may not be able to buy rooms or more room pages. Rooms more effectively affect your game, and that can ultimately lead into more issues in the future. So that should just be a quick fix. See what's going on there to maybe make it a faster connection. Talking about faster connection, we're going to go to the login screen now. So getting out of the client, these aren't really related to the client, but I just tied it all in with the client, is when you log in. Now, a lot of people have messaged me in a lot of different things. It's the last couple patches of having trouble with login problems. And I was like, I'm not really having login problems. And of course, speak of the devil, 5.3 comes, and here we are having login problems. So what do I mean I'm having login problems? Well, if I type in my password correctly the first 3 times, which usually doesn't happen, but if I do, what happens is it starts connecting. It says trying to find your authentication and trying to connect to the server, and it's loading, and it's like loading, 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 and then it goes retry 1, retry 2, retry 3, and then all of a sudden it gives you this long error message. It's like, we couldn't connect to the server. If you're having problems, try these things. If the problem persists, try repairing your client, all that jazz. This long post, right? It's the same crapple. If you've had this problem, you know what I'm talking about. But I've been getting that a lot lately, like a lot. I've typed in my password, and it takes me like almost 10 times to get into the client. And once again, I understand there's a lot of people playing, a lot of people logging in at different times and all that jazz. So I expect some slowness, some bogginess. I'm not expecting, super fast speeds like back in the day when Riot was not as popular as they are now. But at the same time, it's frustrating. You log in, logging in, logging in. And then a couple patches ago, I'm pretty sure this is fixed, but if anybody's still having issues, I would let Riot know, is if you did connect after your retry, they retry once, retry twice, and they did connect you, sometimes your chat wouldn't load, your client wouldn't load, and you couldn't do anything. You would have to re-log out to re-log back in. What do I mean by that? Is they would let you into the client, you could play a game, but your whole bottom bar would be missing. You couldn't see who's online. You can see if you're connected chat. There was no reconnect to chat button like there usually is if you get disconnected from chat. There was none of that. So you had to re-log out of the client and then re-log in, and everything should be fixed. But that was just little things that are just seems to be needs to be fixed somewhat. To see what's going on there, maybe to check queue times, or at least put a queue time. If there needs to be a queue time, then put a queue time. There's no problem for that. I understand that, but telling me that you're trying to connect to the server, trying to connect to the server, and trying to connect to the server, and then ultimately give me this error about all these different things I could do because I couldn't connect to the server, and then I retry again and again, and then finally get in. Probably not the best effective way. Just tell me there's a queue. I don't mind sitting in queue if I have to wait like a minute or two. That's fine. I'd rather do that than, being told I'm connected to the server and then being cut off for whatever odd reason. But the big topic that I wanted to talk about was the PBEs mentioned before. The PBE is important for many options. I've talked about the importance about PBEs, early access, and all that jazz in another video, which you should also check out. I'm shamelessly plugging all my videos today. I apologize, but I do recommend that you check those out. They are related as a gamer. They are important one way or another to us. So I feel that, if you want more knowledge on the topic, you can go check out that video and then do your own research. Because I say something here, don't take it for like set in stone. Do your research, look into the things, other people having issues, and then come to your own conclusions that, you want to be critical thinkers. But why do I mention the PBE? Well, Riot's had a PBE, as most games do if they have patches or updates to their games constantly, such as World of Warcraft and StarCraft and all those other jazz kind of games that, have updates, are going to keep updating the game and can effectively affect live. What do I mean by that? Bugs, all that, glitches, all that they want fixed before they go live. Well, Riot has took a weird response on how they wanted to really deal with their PBE. When PBE first came out, they were like, all right, we're going to put things on there with the grain of salt of we're going to try things that may or may not have an effect on the real-time server. What does that mean? They're just trying things out that may never make it to live. They may add a champion, may add something to the map, and then it kind of disappears and you never hear about it again. But sometimes it gains hype. And which is good, it helps with, it's just not boring. You're always wondering what's really going to be added to the live. You're wondering what's going to be uh, taken away. And it creates a lot more hype because you really don't know what's going to happen in the patch. Yeah, you can assume and you can tell us all these changes, but some of those changes may never happen, which is exciting, You really don't know. And then Riot was like, no, 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 no. We're just going to focus on stuff that's going live. We're just going to keep it that way. Anything that's going live on the server is going to go on PBE first, and that's it. We're not going to do any testing with PBE. We're not going to do anything of that sort. Anything that's on PBE is most likely going live. And now this kind of gets, it kind of gets boring because you're like, oh, you already know what's going to happen. People get to test things, which is good. People can focus on what's going to be changed in the PBE, and they can tell you the errors and glitches of what's going on. And recently, Riot said, you know what? We're going to go back. We're going to revert back to our old ways, and we're going to pretty much say we're going to start testing again things that may or may not make live servers. And you're like, oh, okay, that's fine. And I guess the biggest example is the little runes that they had all over the map. People were making a big hype out of that. They're like, what do these runes mean? Why are they lighting up? Do they make a symbol? All that jazz. And then it kind of died down, and you didn't really hear about it. But why do I bring up the PBE? Well, the PBE is very essential because it's the people yourself that actually take the time to play on PBE and find errors and glitches before they go on live. So it's very essential, And before I continue, yes, I understand you're not going to catch every single error. I get it. You're not going to catch everything. You're not going to catch all the little glitches and nuances that come with this patch, because once you go live, everything changes. You're playing with a bigger fan base. This is your live map. Things are a little bit different, coded a little bit different, and there's errors and glitches that are going to happen, and that's understandable. Bugs, as we call them. So why is this important? Because recently I saw a post actually about the ultimate skin Sona. Yes, the love-hate for Sona right now is very strong. Some people are like, oh, why Sona? And then other people are like, this is amazing. But that's not what I'm talking about. Somebody made a post, and he plays on the PBE, and I've talked about this, like I said, in trailers and releases in my other video. He said when the trailer was released for Sona, you can see that there's a nice smooth action. It looks crisp. The audio's nice, and Sona does a little ability, and everything's smooth. It's great. But in the PBE, it's not that way. And there's been a lot of complaints about this. The audio's not good right off the bat. The visual effects of what Sona does and moves and her actual abilities don't match up with the music and how the music changes. And there's little nuances and glitches that they need to fix and tune before they get to the actual live server. And there was a post, and he said maybe this is intended by Riot, and this seems to be happening with a lot of things. What do I mean by that? Is that they're like, is this supposed to be intended to happen? Maybe, maybe not. Well, the problem with that is you have to go back. You have to go back with originally what was going on is that you're using the visual effects and a small clip. When you're using a small clip and you're showing just that ability, you can do a lot more to it. You got 30 seconds. You do your ability or show Sona, and not even in its map. Keep in mind, you show its ability, and you can show it at a much more greater, visually. Just ultimately, it's hard to explain. You just ultimately can see it in a better effect. Visually, sound-wise, you can use better audio. You're listening to it through YouTube or whatever audio program they're using to use DJ Sona. It's just ultimately going to sound better than instead of using the in-game audio for, a video game, and you're not on the map, and how it looks on the map is just going to be completely different, And that is a big problem, as I mentioned before. But that's not what I'm ranting about. So he's like, is this supposed to be happening? Which is a big key question. Now, there's been multiple posts on the forums and Reddit throughout the time, and it seems that sometimes PBEers get ignored, and this kind of frustrates me as a player. Because if things are getting caught by people that are focusing on the PBE and focusing on glitches and nuances that, are not ready for live servers and can be fixed in the PBE, those things should be fixed before they make it to the live servers. And there's been posts that PBEers are ignored or not listened to. They've had comments on things. Are you going to listen to PBE comments? What is going on with the PBE? And how credible and how bad of a suggestion are these these ideas? Because people take time, especially if you main a champion and your champion's getting changed, and that's the champion, your go-to champion, your niche champion, and you are a high elo player. I'm not saying that low elo players should be ignored. I'm saying if you're a high elo player and this is your niche champion, and you know every crook and nanny about that champion, and they change something, and you make a long dedicated post and it gets ignored, I think there's something wrong. Especially because you would know that champion. You're calculating the numbers. You do the idea numbers. And I'm not saying that they have to listen to every single thing. I understand there are people on the PBE who are going, you're nerfing Ari? Why? Ari doesn't need a nerf. Nerf Aurelia. Yes, I get it. I understand. You're not going to look at those. But when somebody's coming in and talking about the statistics and the numbers that they're crunching, just a simple response be like, oh, well, your numbers are pretty well on par, but you have to keep it in a broader base. Just a PR response would work, honestly. And it worries me because there's times where there's glitches and all that jazz that could be fixed before we even get to live. I think. We don't need to have a big mega thread about all the little bugs and glitches that have on Riot, and they should be fixed. And two of the things that have been commented on so much and really haven't been focused on or looked at, or maybe under the scenes that we're not told about, are the minion block is one of them. You're on a live server, which I'm going to rant about it in a little bit here. You're on a live server with a new map, and the minion block is even worse than the old one. Everything's such smooth, crisp, everything looks great, and yet you're still having the same issues. Champions get walled in, blocked in by minions. On top of that, you have maps. Like I said, I understand that not every map is on the same server. It depends where they find the best map for all 10 people to be connected to. There are maps that you get stuck on. Walls. I'm not maps you get stuck, literally, but you log into a map and you get stuck on a wall. It's been infamous. We've seen it with streamers. We've seen it. People have complained about it, and I've complained about this multiple times in the videos before. Which leads me to my rant about the map. I've ranted about the map before about how it's not been a big problem. It's been a kind of a problem, but not really a big problem where Riot addresses it. But the map is so frustrating when you're just walking and you just stop. And you're not lagging. You're not having FPS troubles. It's not like that split second you start having lag troubles. No, you're walking against the dragon wall, or you're walking in that bush right there, and you're just like, you're walking in place. You're stuck. But my rant is that Riot still has it as a beta map. And why is this a rant that I'm going to finish off with? Is because you're using it for tournaments! You're using it in the LCS. You're using it in the LPL. You're using it in OGN. Why is this still called a beta map? Stop giving us, goes back to the wording and all that jazz. It's not a beta map. You're using it for your ranked games. You're using it for tournaments. You're updating it. It's no longer a beta. Take that word away. Actually, I have to go check if the word's still on there, to be honest. But as of last patch, the word was still on there, and that frustrated me. Because it gives Riot an excuse. It gives Riot an excuse to say, look, this map is still a beta. It's still not up to par to our standards, and we're still fixing and changing everything until we officially release the map. But that's not how it works. If you're still working on it, you should not be using it to be in ranked games. You shouldn't be using it for tournaments. This is not something that should be used then. You don't see a program being used or recommended by people as a beta and stay as a beta. No, they're like, this is now released. This is now the actual product. It is either the product or outcome of what you want, or it's not. You cannot just tag it as a beta and then use it everywhere and then have that as an excuse. And like I said, I understand you're not going to catch every little crook and nanny in the PBE, which is PBE is very important, I think. But this is a persistent problem with some of these things. Why aren't these problems being just fixed on their own without Reddit or a forum trying to tell you every little crooked problem? You should be more proactive than reactive, ultimately. But that is it. Just my little rant there about the map. Jesus, beta. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. I feel like PBE needs to be taken more seriously with Riot. I think that if we looked at PBE as more of a tool for, what we'd be putting on live servers, I think a lot of your big threads would go away about glitches and nuances. And last but not least, like I said, a few little things that have been getting more and persistent problems would be your login screens. Trying to connect to the server was what I mean. And the store, how many times do I have to restart my client until the store finally works for me? But maybe that's just my problems. I was just saying that. Once again, like I said, I'm not bashing Riot. I know I'm bashing Riot, but at the same time, I'm still going to play Riot. I still support Riot. As a consumer, I'm just holding Riot as a standard that I would like some of these things to be fixed, or at least some kind of response on how these things are going to be changed in the future. And that is it. You all have a great night, and I will see you next Sunday. Thanks all. Tmzoids out.